Hello, I'm Jim Morningstar, Director of Transformations and your guide through this 8-session advanced practicum and apprenticeship in community building. The focus of this third class is integrating the principles of spiritual psychology into your life and teaching communities. Integrative psychology. Now, in both Christian and Buddhist traditions, the application of spiritual fulfillment takes place in loving service to fellow human beings. This is the Mahayana, or greater vehicle as it's called, in which we are all in the same boat, and one person's experience on the journey is influenced by and influences everyone else's. So the more we can compassionately understand how we and others operate, the more we can avoid the pitfalls of separation and confusion. Now, here's where the study of the human psyche play a vital role in creating forms of coexistence that either help or hinder our mutuality. It's our mind that creates these forms or structures of life. For example, family rituals, educational models, entrepreneurial pursuits, etc. One fundamental error, however, is at the core of all misunderstanding of ourselves and each other. That is, creating realities with which we identify and become attached to and thereby stuck in. The tool we use in creating our realities is our mind. It's our divine right to use this tool, but it's a fatal mistake to identify with it. In so doing, we separate ourselves from true source and begin to believe the stories we make up about the nature of ourselves as bad, ugly, unworthy of love, and set off on an endless pursuit of recovery or life of survival or resignation. The truth is, we can never do enough to earn what we already have. Let's review some of the basic operating principles of the mind and retake mastery of it rather than be subservient to it. The mind is our creation, and by its very nature has only the power we give it. It is derivative and has no ultimate power of its own or answers for our life. If we're not taking responsibility for how we program it, we fall victim to its limiting judgments and projections. This is the source of our fear and pain. The definition of hell is a place where pain never ends. When you trap yourself in your mind, you will have a hell of a time and feel despair and think there is no escape. You have the divine right to stay there and refuse all help as long as it takes to reown the love that you are and release the bonds of negative belief you have accepted about yourself and your world. By the same token, it's a simple act of self-forgiveness that can open the doors of your heart to acceptance of the divine infant at your source. How your mind works. Mind is your ability to think, evidenced by the collection of all your thoughts. You have this ability. It's not who you are. Just as you have the ability to talk, but talking is not who you are. It's something who you are does. Basic operating principles of the mind. Number 1, what you concentrate on increases. For examples, people avoid me, or I'm liked by others, or I never get enough. The more I concentrate on those thoughts, the more those experiences increase in my life. 2, what you think is absolute truth is what you create in your life. Examples, people try to use each other. Life is exciting. Again, if I see these consciously or unconsciously as ultimate truth, these are the experiences that continue to be created in my life. 3, what you think continues to exert influence until you change it. Examples, the world is a scary place, or I'm helped by others. So you don't need 20 years of psychoanalysis to discover your deepest beliefs. Your beliefs are evident in how you see and talk about your world. Laws of the mind. First, the law of attraction. Thoughts and feelings attract like thoughts and feelings. Examples: negative thoughts and feelings about community. I am expected to be social when I don't want to, will attract other negative thoughts like, oh, people are always calling me and bothering me for something. I never get a moment's peace. Positive thoughts about community might be, sharing with friends is supportive and fun. Will attract thoughts like, oh, I really enjoyed the meeting last night. Oh, I learned something different, even though we went overtime. So, write several thoughts and feelings you have about community in your life on Class 3, Handout 3, Laws of the Mind, Section 1. Complete this and come back to the video. The second is the law of projection. I see the world through my glasses of my prevailing beliefs. Examples are, I bet most people have gotten tired of me teaching this stuff by now. That would be reflecting a negative perception I might harbor about my curriculum, versus, I'm sharing some of the most affirming material that has vastly improved my life, which reflects a positive acceptance of what I'm teaching. Write an example of how you negatively interpreted someone else's interpretation of what you have to share or teach on Handout 3, Section 2. Complete this and come back to the video. The third law of the mind, the law of transformation. I help shape others' thoughts and feelings through communicating my thoughts and feelings. Now, this doesn't mean I control or make other people think, but the more I express myself, I can influence others. Examples: people don't like me, or people like me. These become commands to others. I'm in effect saying, people don't like me, or people like me. So note how you believe you've helped others shape another's beliefs about you positively and negatively on Handout 3, Section 3. Complete this and come back to the video. The fourth law of the mind is the law of harmony, balance, or synchronicity. Patterns of thought attract complementary patterns. Examples of how your role and the other person's are complements of one another. An outgoing person might be complemented by an introvert. Being an artistic person will seek out a person that's more linear. A caretaker may look for someone needing help. Stay at home, out in the world. Persecutor, victim. Person wanting to get even finds a person who is guilty and or vulnerable. So make a note of a complementary relationship you have or have had in your community on Handout 3, Section 4. Complete this and come back to the video. The 3 principles of mental mastery. So given some understanding of the metaphysics of the mind, what are the operating principles for taking charge of its working? Principle number 1, the analysis principle, states, I can discover the contents of my mind, which means we are not the victims of our so-called unconscious part of our mind. Principle 2, the affirmations principle, states, I can positively change my mind, which means I have the ability to alter the thoughts and belief structures of my mind in ways that serve me, Now, this is crucial because I use my mind to shape my reality, and if I have no control of it, my life will appear to be out of my control. Principle 3 is the goals principle, which states, I can create the results I want. Thus, I can use my understanding of the mind and my ability to change my mind to end up achieving my goals in life. Now, this puts me responsibly back in the driver's seat of my life and my fulfillment. We will now operationalize these 3 principles into action plans as community builders. How do we know what beliefs we have in our mind are producing the results in our current life? If I choose my thoughts, and my thoughts and feelings shape my life, why don't I just choose good thoughts and have a great life? Your mind has been growing and developing all your life. You've taken on thoughts and feelings of your family and culture. You may like or dislike your thoughts, but you're responsible for keeping them or not. My father told me that bankers don't deserve all that money, and that's why I robbed the bank. It's my father's fault. Well, tell that to the judge after 18 years of age. The most powerful or strongly reinforced thoughts have the greatest influence on your behavior. You are not aware of many of these. This unconscious part of the mind is the basis of low self-esteem and self-sabotage. Sometimes I'm surprised to discover I have negative beliefs or prejudices that other parts of my mind deny. How can I sort through the huge collections of thoughts I have to discover what is running my life? The analysis game, discovering the contents of my mind. Now, before we set out on the adventure of discovering our subconscious positive and negative thoughts, let's take a little poll. How would you judge this thought, positive or negative? I am safe in the world. Okay. How would you judge this thought? The world is a scary place. Okay. Now, how about this thought? It's safe for me to drive without a seatbelt. Okay. You can see that it may start to get unclear about what is positive and what is negative. These are judgments attached to fear and or love. If we set out on this journey of self-analysis like a witch hunt for negative thinking, we'll just get more ammunition with which to judge ourselves. We must rather discover how the thoughts function for us. What may be a positive functioning thought for one may be a limiting one for another source of misunderstanding in the world. We need to see with the eyes of love towards ourselves to tell the difference. More data from the field of positive psychology. Optimists tend to be happier people, but pessimists tend to be more realistic about the outcome of certain life events. So, I'm safe in crossing the highway with my eyes closed may not be a genuinely positive thought for most people. I should be careful to whom I give my money may not be all negative. All fears are not evil or ineffective. To condemn ourselves for having, quotes, negative thoughts or fears will slow us down on the road to self-acceptance. How I'm using my thoughts and feelings is more instructive in making the changes we want than an absolute judgment on what I'm thinking or feeling. Positive psychology, for example, advocates the right balance of positive and negative thoughts rather than trying to make every thought, quotes, positive, two affirmative to one cautious. Now, this may be a more realistic, compassionate goal and consequently have a much better chance of success and positive results for us than trying to make every thought our judgment of what's positive. So I will grow in my abilities and effectiveness if I honor my current capacity and learn to stretch in just the right amount. I can fly may be a useful thought if I'm looking to let my heart soar above my temporary travails, or if I'm trying to buy an airline ticket, but may not be truly respectful of my current abilities if I'm thinking of jumping off the roof. Better, I should test out my capacity by flying up to the roof before I try flying down if I'm working on my powers of levitation. In the following exercise, let us explore our minds compassionately, recognizing that every thought, whether we judge it as positive or negative, has some potentially useful function. We have the ability to increase the usefulness of our thinking if we are supported by having loving intentions towards ourselves in this process. Here's where we can appropriately use the Buddhist tool of mindfulness, lovingly observing but not identifying with our thoughts, and the tool of creative thought, actively changing thinking patterns that do not serve us. Each of us has the ability to discover the contents of our mind and why we are behaving the way we are if we have the courage to do so. It does not take superintelligence. Some of the, quotes, most intelligent people, IQ-wise, are blind to and thereby blinded by their feelings. Courage of the heart is the wisdom of another order and is the key to freedom and happiness. To illustrate our ability to discover the contents of our mind, we'll play the analysis game. Now, there are warnings on the package of the analysis game. It may seem too simple. You may have strong emotional reactions, mad, sad, glad, scared. This just means you're hitting a nerve of a real issue. It's a good sign. You may have judgments of yourself or others. Just let go and proceed. Your mind may go blank. Stay with the process. You may become confused, can't get it straight. Just ask your inner guidance for help. You may have tiredness. Keep breathing and move forward. When you hit pay dirt, you'll recover plenty of energy you did not know you had. Ultimately, the game is only dangerous to your misery. Okay? Here's how we play the analysis game on handout 4, the analysis game. First step is choose an area of present challenge in your community, interpersonal or personal, and write, what I have is, that is, something I want to change. For example, a fear of being open about my spiritual beliefs. And B, what I want is, that is, something I'd like to have instead. For example, comfort in being open about my spiritual beliefs. Now keep these statements as concrete, simple, and clear as possible. Okay? Step 2 is called a willing suspension of disbelief. It's something you exercise when you go to the theater or watch a movie. For example, you imagine the actor is King Henry for the purpose of learning something in the story. What you do in step 2 is imagine what I have is actually, for some reason, what I really want. This is just an instructional game, so it does not cancel out you're not wanting what you say you don't want. We're just looking for some hidden benefits in having it for now. Step 3 is the reason I want what I have. That is what you said in A that you didn't want. And you list 3 good reasons or secondary benefits that unconsciously wanting what you consciously say you don't want gives some benefits to you. Not neurotic reasons like, oh, I'm essentially a coward. That's why I deserve this punishment. No, reinforcing this does not help you at all. But realizing that you have this hidden belief can help you a lot to deal with it. Finally, step 4, we get to the limiting belief, which makes these reasons understandable or valid. So, watch your feelings as you do this exercise. If you do not have any, you're probably skating over the top of your subconscious or have picked something you don't have a big investment in. Here's an example. Let's go through the game using what I said in step 1, a fear of sharing my spiritual beliefs is what I have. And what I want is B, less fear of sharing my spiritual beliefs. So, what would be 3 reasons for wanting fear of sharing my spiritual beliefs? Well, 1 is my fear keeps me from being rejected by others. 2 might be my fear points out how uncertain I am about my beliefs. Or 3, my fear helps me discriminate between safe and unsafe communities. So, what are the limiting beliefs which make these reasons understandable or valid? Find a principal limiting belief underneath that reason. There may be several, but just choose a main one. My first reason in step 3 was my fear keeps me from being rejected by others. So a limiting belief here could be that my beliefs are essentially separate me from others. So they should stay hidden for me to be accepted. My second reason for wanting fear of sharing my spiritual beliefs are my fear points out how uncertain I am about my beliefs. So my limiting belief here could be, well, if I were true to myself, I would be sharing my beliefs with everyone. That is a limiting belief, by the way. Okay? And 3, my reason was my fear helps me discriminate between safe and unsafe communities. The limiting belief here is I'm not safe unless I'm with others who believe what I do. Okay, now understand that you may not like the limiting beliefs that emerge in this game, or even consciously agree with them. So be inclined to deny or not to write them down. But courage, my friends, it is by unearthing those fearful or limiting parts of ourselves that we can do something transformative with them, rather than play clueless about them, or judge ourselves for them, or sugarcoat over them. In playing the analysis game, know that we are going to use these limiting beliefs to recover suppressed energy and increase your aliveness more than you might imagine. So just keep breathing and complete Class 3, Handout 4, the analysis game, and come back to the video. How do I change my limiting beliefs? Now, what many schools of positive thinking do not tell us is that the so-called negative thought we have is just life energy with negative judgments attached to it, held in place by strong feelings. The energy, sensed as my feelings, is actually neutral and has the potential to be useful in my favor. The energy cannot be destroyed within the system. It's a basic law of physics. So trying to get rid of negative thoughts can be an endless struggle. But the attitude towards the negative thought can change. For example, I may be angry about not getting paid what I want on my job and have the thought, bosses always take advantage of me. Frustration always signals me to change my mind or change the scene. Thus, I can decide that actually the money I'm getting paid is just fine, or I can ask for more, or I can get a new job. Now, working with my limiting belief will help me decide what is best for me. The affirmation. I can positively change my mind. How do we effectively do this in the face of so many negative and limiting thoughts we have been exposed to, and the fears we've accumulated along the way? Now, here's where the most powerful tool humans have must be learned and skillfully used: the affirmation. An affirmation is a consciously chosen thought, sentence if you will, to precisely counter the limiting beliefs in a way that initiate a productive course of action. It's not just a flowery, sentimental saying that leads to no significant change in my life. Then it's worthless. It has been trivialized as a rote, simplistic repetition of a generic platitude. On the other hand, we have all experienced the thought that gives us the aha reaction when uncovering a truth that frees us. A good affirmation is our sword of truth that cuts through doubt and illusion and opens the heart to breathe and manifest its true desire in this life. To construct a genuine affirmation, we use the Four Ps Guideline. This is a retraining of our mental self-talk that assails us continuously. Herein is the key to change. The 4 Ps of affirmation writing. A good affirmation is, first, positive. The affirmation must direct me towards what I want. Get the knots out. Good example, I am attracting community members that I enjoy and are mutually supportive. Bad example, I'm not going to have negative people around me that depress me. The mind, like a dog, works on commands to the universe. The first sentence has the embedded commands, I attract, and I enjoy, and I am supported. The second sentence has the commands, I'm not going to have people around me and depress me. The second P is personal. The affirmation must be about me and my life rather than generic conditions. It must move me personally. I must be willing to feel it for it to be effective. Good example, I'm feeling more joy in my community life each day. Bad example, life should be lived joyfully in community. So affirmations can be used in the second and third person also. So, Jim, you feel more joy in your community life each day. Or, Jim feels more joy in his community life each day. The first person affirmation, however, is usually the best place to start. However, we can optimize our change of mind by being able to affirm in all three modes. The third P, present. The affirmation generally touches me most effectively if it's stated in the present tense, not future or past. So, good example. I'm finding more safety in my body as I share from my heart. Bad example. I will feel more safety in my body when I learn to share from my heart. Or, if I had learned to share from my heart in my family, I'd be safer in my body now. Okay? The mind looks for loopholes. That is, will and when are in the future, so I don't have to do anything about it now to change. Affirming negatively in the past also reinforces it in the present. The fourth P is practical. The affirmation needs to stretch me the right degree, not overwhelm or underwhelm me. I know when it's right for me. So bad examples will be, everyone thinks I'm the greatest. Now my mind can't and shouldn't buy this. Or, someday if I'm lucky, someone may think I'm okay. That's a wimpy goal. Okay, so a good example now is going to depend on just what's right for me. It clicks for me. Examples may be, I'm enjoying my relationships more and more. Or I'm bringing people into my life who appreciate me for who I am. Now, all these 4 Ps may be overridden by the fifth P, passion. If a thought really turns you on, lights your fire, it may be the most effective for you. Affirmation writing process. Now, let's put these guidelines into action by taking the limiting beliefs you came up with in the analysis game and changing them into positive affirmations. We use the limiting beliefs because, one, they're in our way and need to be redirected, and two, they have emotional energy which now can be used in our favor. On handout 5, Affirmations, write an affirmation for each limiting belief from step 4 on handout 4. Complete this and come back to the video. The Goals Principle, I can produce the results I want, puts our affirmations to work in our community building. Making this principle effective in your mind mastery is to put clarity and passion into what you want. This means the greater specificity and love you can bring to your goals in life, and the more alignment they are with your purpose, the more effectively they will manifest to your benefit and for the good of all. Holding you in my heart as fellow travelers on the road home, I send and receive blessings for our circle and all sentient beings. Till next class, blessings in light and love.